I'm attorney Mark Nicholson from the law office of Mark Nicholson, and I'm here to talk about the verdict. Yes, the verdict came in today on the Jonathan Majors jury trial. And I have to say, I'm disappointed. They gave him a split verdict. They did what I called in a previous episode, they split the baby. They get a split verdict. I had concerns about the verdict when they came back with another question about being read the definition or being read the jury instruction of harassment again. So I thought that was an indication that they may find him guilty of harassment because they want this jury instruction kind of read to them again. And in the very beginning, they wanted the jury instructions read to them. They didn't come up with a verdict on Friday. I was very concerned that was an indication that they were going to find him guilty of something. And they did. They found him guilty of assault in the third degree, basically recklessly causing some kind of injury, right? And then harassment in the second degree, guilty. So he was found not guilty of assault in the third degree with the intent to cause a physical injury and also the aggravated harassment in the second degree. So he was found guilty on two of the charges. This is something that prosecutors love to do. They love to stack these charges. So the jury has all these multiple options to find you guilty of something. And that's what they did. Like, hey, he must have did something. We got 5 charges and all that. And like I said, over the weekend concerned me. So they read all that stuff on that biased media, all that kind of stuff, and bam. And now he's convicted. Also, I want to talk about Priya Chaudhry. I'm sure her and her team did the best they could with what they had. And we often do what I call, and I didn't coin the phrase, but we do postmortems on trials. What we could have done, what we should have done, or we didn't do. It's just, you drive yourself crazy trying to think of the things you should have done and could have done and all that. It's just crazy. And I've had cases that I've won and I still did the postmortem, that what I could have done better, and cases I've lost and I still do the postmortem, right? Priya Chaudhry, it looks like from her background information on her website that she had over 40 jury trials in 20 years. So you're looking at someone that does maybe a couple jury trials a year. Maybe that's a lot of jury trials. I know here in Indiana, if you start off as a public defender or you're a trial attorney, in a span of 20 years in criminal law, you're probably going to have over 40 trials. One of the things that I think is important to know is that Priya had all the facts, that she knew this case apparently forwards and backwards. I am convinced in my heart that there was a misstep by those text messages. Getting those text messages in, I think, was an error. Now, would it change the outcome of the case? I don't know, because they had the weekend to get on the internet and look things up and things like that. So, it may not ultimately change the outcome of the case. Who knows? But I think those text messages did kind of put a spotlight on there that could have been avoided. Another thing, they do have what's called self-defense in New York. And I'm not licensed to practice law in New York, and I'm not giving any kind of legal advice at all. But anybody can Google the law in New York and see that under New York Penal Law Article 35, that a person can use physical force when and to the extent that they reasonably believe that this force is necessary to defend yourself against a third person from what you believe is the use of force or the imminent use of this unlawful force. In Indiana, basically the same kind of thing, right? In Indiana, we have a self-defense statute that basically says, you can defend yourself using reasonable force to repel someone that you think is getting ready to attack you or has used unlawful force. And we also have it where you can use self-defense against public service law enforcement officers if you believe that they're getting ready to engage in some kind of unlawful activity. I'm not going to go into a bunch of detail about that because I don't want people to think, I can resist the police. like I said, this is not legal advice that I'm giving you. I'm just telling you things that you can research on your own, on Google, things like that. It's important to recognize that this is a strategy call. Why wasn't self-defense put in play? This is the call for the attorney. She has all the facts of the case. She knows that case better than any of us. Any of us watching my YouTube, she knows the case, or she should know the case forwards and backwards. But it does seem like self-defense could be an option, right? That, hey, I defended myself against her. She grabbed my phone and I grabbed it back and I pushed her in the car for that reason, because I was defending myself. The question is, the strategy that they went for appeared to be a strategy of, he didn't do anything. Like he didn't harm her. He didn't do anything. And, he just put her in the car, that kind of thing. That may have been an area where they could have maybe argued self-defense. Who knows? Like I said, I do think that there was a mistake on those text messages. I do believe that. And I said it when it came out, because they fought hard to keep those text messages out, and they opened the door for those text messages to come in. And then ultimately he's convicted. What's the next step once someone's convicted? The next step is sentencing. And that is on February 6th of 2024. Now the question is, will he go to jail? What kind of sentence will he get? Well, no one knows what kind of sentence he will get. But it's fair to say someone with his background that doesn't really have any kind of, as far as we know, any kind of criminal history, and these are misdemeanors that basically he's facing a year in jail, that he would not go to jail. Like, I think that him going to jail is really off the table. This is someone that has, as far as we know, pretty much a stellar history, no criminal history, and will be able to do community service, do probation, pay a fine, fees, all that kind of stuff like that. He's working, he has a job, all this kind of stuff like that. It will be undue hardship to put him in jail for what, right? I mean, the judge is going to be aware that this man has lost tens of millions of dollars because of this incident. And that just shows you the danger, when you're very famous, of messing around with people that are not really on your level. The Bible talks about don't be unequally yoked. And this may be a situation where he was unequally yoked. He was up here, and she was a little bit down here, and then she drug him down there. Got to be aware of that, no matter what station of life you're in, that, hey, if you're trying to do the right thing, you don't want to get involved with someone that's not trying to do the right thing. And that's why I'm wearing this shirt, King the Conqueror, because we all have to conquer something in our life. We have to conquer something. And whether that is negative thoughts in our head, negative people around us, the justice system, injustice, whatever, there are mountains that we have to climb, mountains that we have to conquer. And keep that in mind as you go about life. We have to conquer, we have to overcome. And that's the message to Jonathan Majors, is that you will have to conquer this. You will have to overcome whatever sentence that he's faced with. And like I said, I don't anticipate to be jail. I'd be very shocked if it was jail. And then what's after that? Can he appeal? Yes, he can appeal. He can appeal this jury's ruling. I don't really know what the grounds for appeal would be. His attorneys would know. They can find maybe something to file an appeal on, but just sitting back on the sideline, I didn't really hear anything that seemed so out of the way, so improper, that I would say, oh, they need to appeal that decision. The only decision that seemed like it kind of really, went against them was the one that was for them in the beginning about keeping those text messages out, and then they brought the text messages in because of something that the defense attorney said. There were objections, but usually when it comes to objections, at least in Indiana, if the objection is overruled, I mean, it's really going to have to be something really kind of egregious, because the judge has the decision on basically the evidence coming in or out. So it really has to be some kind of huge violation of your rights for that to be enough to turn over. I really haven't heard of anything that would make me think that he would have a strong case for an appeal. But like I said, I don't know all the ins and outs like they do. Those are his steps. And if he does appeal and the case gets overturned, depending on what it's appeal, is he appealing the sentence because the sentence was too harsh? Is he appealing the conviction and then it gets overturned and they have to retry it? Or they're saying he's barred from prosecution again? I don't know what the appeal court would say in this particular case. I do believe that this conviction has basically ruined his career. And I'm not saying that he can't conquer this situation, because to me, he's still King the Conqueror. But he knows, and everyone knows, that this has seriously put a dent in his career, his image that he worked so hard to cultivate. And as far as Grace Jabari, I mean, this has kind of put her name out there for everyone to kind of know and either be for her or against her. I don't know exactly how much this is going to really affect her career, because either people are going to think she's a victim or a villain. And I know that he's probably sitting back second guessing himself and thinking he probably should have left her a long time ago before it got heated and all that kind of stuff like that. He's probably doing a lot of self-evaluation and things. Maybe the jurors will come out and they will sell their story on books and TV shows and get on YouTubes and say what went on in the jury room, what they were thinking, and why they convicted. They may say, oh, it didn't have anything to do with the video or with the text messages. Maybe they'll come out and say that. Who knows? But it would be interesting to kind of find out what did you see, what did you hear that made you say this is the reason why he's guilty of these two charges. It'd be interesting to find that out. That's your Nicholson Nugget of the day. Please make sure to like and subscribe.